Most of us have felt it. It is that quiet, nagging stiffness in the morning that makes the simple act of standing up from a chair feel like a monumental task. You might feel it in your knees when you walk down the hallway, or perhaps it shows up as a dull, heavy cloud of fatigue that lingers long after your morning coffee. We often dismiss these things as just a part of getting older, but there is a hidden, quiet ailment beneath the surface that is often the true culprit. This silent fire is called chronic inflammation. In our modern world, we are told to reach for a pill bottle the moment we feel a twinge of pain, looking for a quick fix to a deep-seated problem. But what if the solution wasn't found in a laboratory, but in the ancient, God-given wisdom of the earth? Long before the first pharmacy was ever built, the Creator placed healing properties into the very foods that sustained the people of the Bible. Today, we are going back to those roots to rediscover a path to wellness that has been waiting for us all along. My name is David, and I want to welcome you as we explore a more natural, faithful way to care for the temple God has given us. Today, we are going to walk through 14 specific biblical superfoods that have been scientifically proven to fight inflammation and restore vitality to your body. These aren't just random ingredients. They are nutritional powerhouses that were staples in the ancient world and remain just as effective for us today. By incorporating these into your daily life, you can begin to see real improvements in your joint mobility, your heart health, and even your mental clarity. It is about stacking the benefits one meal at a time until your body feels the way it was designed to feel. I have seen these changes in my own life and in the lives of so many others who have decided to trade processed convenience for the slow, steady healing of natural nourishment. I want you to stay with me all the way to the very end of our journey today, because food number 14 is a special treat that genuinely surprised me when I first looked into the research. It is proof that God's design for our health includes joy and flavor, not just discipline. Before we dive into our first food, I must remind you that I am a narrator sharing educational information based on research and tradition. I am not a doctor. Always have a conversation with your healthcare professional before you make significant changes to your diet or lifestyle, especially if you are managing existing health conditions. Now let's begin our countdown of these 14 remarkable gifts from the earth, starting with a root that carries the very color of life itself. The first food on our list is the humble beet. When we look at the history of the ancient Near East and the Mediterranean regions where biblical history unfolded, we find that root vegetables were essential for survival. Beets were cultivated for thousands of years, valued for their ability to grow in tough soil and store well through the seasons. Many people today only see beets as a canned side dish at a salad bar, but that is a missed opportunity for healing. The deep, vibrant red color of a beet is not just for show. It is a sign of a powerful group of compounds called betalains. Think of betalains as the cellular janitors of your body. When your joints are inflamed, there is a kind of microscopic debris causing damage at the cellular level. Betalains help mop up that damage and neutralize the oxidative stress that keeps the fire of inflammation burning. But the real magic of the beet lies in its natural nitrates. When you eat a beet, your body converts these nitrates into nitric oxide. Imagine your blood vessels are like old, narrow pipes that have become stiff over time. Nitric oxide acts as a gentle signal that tells those pipes to relax and widen, allowing blood to flow freely. This is why multiple clinical studies have shown that drinking beetroot juice can meaningfully lower blood pressure in just a few hours. For those of us over 55, keeping our circulation smooth is vital for heart health and energy. One honest caution: beets are high in oxalates, which can contribute to kidney stones in some people. If you have a history of stones, check with your doctor first. Otherwise, try roasting them with a bit of olive oil and sea salt. The earthy sweetness is a reminder of the goodness of the soil. Next, we turn our attention to ginger. This fragrant root was a prized commodity along the ancient spice routes that crisscrossed the lands of the Bible. While it is not mentioned by name in the King James Version, it was a staple in the medicinal traditions of the surrounding cultures for centuries. Ginger was understood to be a warming food, something that could drive out the cold and the dampness that often settles in the joints. In modern science, we have discovered that the active compound in ginger, known as gingerol, is a potent anti-inflammatory agent. To understand how it works, imagine a loud radio playing static in your body. That static is the inflammatory signal. Gingerol essentially reaches over and turns the volume knob down. It interferes with the specific molecules that tell your body to produce pain and swelling. The research on ginger is quite remarkable, particularly for those of us dealing with osteoarthritis. One well-known study found that people with knee pain who took a ginger extract experienced a significant reduction in pain and stiffness compared to those who didn't. It is also a wonderful friend to the digestive system, which is where so much of our overall health begins. A settled gut often leads to a settled body. When I first started using fresh ginger, I was surprised by how quickly a simple tea made of sliced ginger and hot water could calm our restless stomach. One safety note to keep in mind, because ginger can slightly thin the blood, you should be careful if you are on medications like warfarin or are planning for surgery. For most of us, grating a bit of fresh ginger into a stir-fry or steeping it in tea is a safe and delicious way to bring ancient healing into the modern kitchen. Moving to our third food, we find turmeric. This golden spice has captured a lot of headlines recently, and for good reason. While it originated further east, it was traded extensively throughout the ancient world and was part of the same aromatic family as the spices used in the sacred anointing oil described in the book of Exodus. The people of old valued these golden plants for their purifying qualities. The active powerhouse in turmeric is curcumin. In plain terms, curcumin acts like a master switch for inflammation. It doesn't just target one pathway. It blocks multiple molecules that trigger the inflammatory response at a fundamental level. It is like having a fire department that doesn't just put out one fire, but prevents the sparks from starting in the first place. Many studies have compared the effectiveness of curcumin to common over-the-counter anti-inflammatory drugs, finding that it provides similar relief for joint pain, but with much less strain on the stomach. However, there is a secret to making it work. Curcumin is not easily absorbed by the human body on its own. It needs a partner. That partner is black pepper. Black pepper contains a compound called piperine, which increases the absorption of curcumin by up to 2,000%. This is why traditional recipes for golden milk or curries always combine these two. It is a beautiful example of how nature provides everything we need in pairs. Just be aware that high doses of turmeric in supplement form can interact with blood thinners or gallbladder issues. So using it as a vibrant spice in your cooking is the safest way to start. A little turmeric sprinkled over roasted cauliflower or stirred into a soup adds a beautiful color and a wealth of protection. Our fourth superfood brings us to the shores of the Sea of Galilee, fatty fish. Fish is woven into the very fabric of the New Testament. We see Jesus calling fishermen to be his disciples, and we see him sharing a meal of broiled fish with them after his resurrection. In the ancient world, fish was not a luxury. It was the daily bread of the coastal people. Modern nutrition has revealed that fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel are loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA. These fats are essential because our bodies cannot make them on their own. Think of omega-3s as the high-quality oil that keeps a rusty hinge moving smoothly. They provide the building blocks for the body to create anti-inflammatory signaling molecules that actively shut down the swelling in our joints and arteries. The evidence for the heart protective benefits of fatty fish is among the strongest in all of nutritional science. Regular consumption is linked to lower rates of heart disease and improved cognitive function as we age. I personally have a great fondness for sardines. They are small, inexpensive, and incredibly nutrient-dense because you eat the soft bones, which provide a boost of calcium and vitamin D. For many of my friends who find fresh salmon too expensive, a simple tin of sardines on whole grain crackers is a perfect biblical-style lunch. One caution is to be mindful of mercury levels in larger fish like swordfish or king mackerel. Sticking to smaller fish like sardines or wild-caught salmon is generally the safest path. It is a simple way to honor the tradition of the disciples while giving your heart the support it needs to keep beating strong. Number 5 on our list is the sweet potato. While the sweet potato itself was a later arrival to the Middle East, Root vegetables of all kinds have been the backbone of the biblical diet for millennia. They represent the bounty of the earth, pulled from the soil to provide lasting energy. The defining characteristic of the sweet potato is its brilliant orange color, which is a clear sign of beta-carotene. This compound is a powerful antioxidant that the body converts into vitamin A. Beyond just helping your vision, beta-carotene acts as a shield for your cells, protecting them from the rusting process of oxidation that leads to chronic inflammation. What makes the sweet potato particularly interesting for those of us watching our health is how it interacts with our blood sugar. Even though they taste sweet, they have a lower glycemic index than white potatoes. This means they release their energy slowly, preventing the sharp spikes in blood sugar that can actually trigger inflammation. They are also packed with fiber, which feeds the good bacteria in your gut. We are learning more every day about how a healthy gut is the front line of a healthy immune system. I love to bake a sweet potato and top it with a little cinnamon, which we will talk about later, for a meal that feels like a treat but acts like medicine. Just remember that portion control still matters if you are managing diabetes. It is a humble, earthy food that reminds us that God's best gifts are often found just beneath the surface of the ground. For our sixth food, we look to the trees, walnuts. The Bible mentions nut trees in several places, most notably in the Song of Solomon. Walnuts have been cultivated in the Mediterranean and Middle Eastern regions for thousands of years, and the ancients recognized them as a source of deep nourishment. What sets the walnut apart from every other nut is its incredibly high concentration of alpha-linolenic acid, or ALA. This is a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid. While it is different from the fish-based version, it serves a similar purpose in the body by helping to balance out the inflammatory fats that are so common in our modern diet. Studies have shown that eating just a handful of walnuts a day can lower levels of C-reactive protein, which is the main marker doctors use to measure how much inflammation is in your blood. There's also a fascinating old tradition called the doctrine of signatures, which suggests that foods often look like the part of the body they help. If you crack open a walnut, it looks remarkably like a human brain, and modern research confirms that the fats in walnuts are indeed excellent for protecting the brain against the inflammation that leads to memory loss. One practical tip: walnuts have a high oil content, so they can go rancid if left in a warm pantry. I always keep mine in the refrigerator or freezer to keep those delicate fats fresh and healing. They are perfect on a morning bowl of oatmeal or tossed into a fresh salad, providing a satisfying crunch and a dose of ancient wisdom. Next, at number 7, we have pumpkin seeds. In the biblical tradition, seeds were symbols of faith and potential, but they were also a vital part of the diet. While pumpkins are a New World plant, the use of seeds like melon and squash seeds was very common in the ancient East. Pumpkin seeds are a hidden gem when it comes to fighting inflammation because they are one of the best natural sources of magnesium. Many of us are actually deficient in magnesium without realizing it, and low levels of this mineral are directly linked to higher levels of chronic inflammation. Magnesium acts like a natural relaxant for the body, helping to calm the nervous system and regulate the immune response. In addition to magnesium, pumpkin seeds are rich in zinc and antioxidants, like vitamin E. Zinc is crucial for keeping your immune system from overreacting, which is exactly what happens during chronic inflammation. Think of it as a thermostat that keeps the body's internal temperature just right. I find that keeping a small jar of raw pumpkin seeds on the counter makes it easy to grab a tablespoon here and there throughout the day. They have a mild, nutty flavor that works well with almost anything. A small safety note: if you buy them roasted and heavily salted, the extra sodium might work against your blood pressure goals. So look for the raw or lightly toasted, unsalted varieties. It is a small seed that carries a massive amount of God's restorative power. Moving to number 8, we find mushrooms. While they aren't mentioned by name in the scriptures, mushrooms grow abundantly in the hills and forests of the Holy Land and have been part of the human diet since the beginning of time. They are unique because they are neither plant nor animal, and they contain compounds found nowhere else in nature. The most important of these are beta-glucans. These are special types of fiber that act like a training manual for your immune system. They teach your white blood cells how to be more efficient, helping them to distinguish between a real threat and the healthy tissue of your own joints. This helps to lower the friendly fire of inflammation that causes so much pain as we age. Mushrooms are also one of the only non-animal sources of vitamin D, especially if they have been exposed to sunlight while growing. We know that vitamin D is essential for bone health and for keeping inflammation in check, yet so many of us struggle to get enough, especially in the winter months. Adding variety to your mushrooms, like shiitake, oyster, or even the common button mushroom, provides a wide spectrum of these protective compounds. I have found that sautéing them with a little garlic and olive oil makes a wonderful topping for a piece of whole grain toast or an omelet. One important rule for mushrooms: always cook them. Cooking breaks down a tough substance called chitin and neutralizes certain raw compounds, making the nutrients much easier for your body to absorb. It is a simple way to bring the forest's healing power into your kitchen. Our ninth food is the pineapple. This tropical fruit might seem like a modern addition, but it represents the long tradition of using natural enzymes for healing. The star of the pineapple is a group of enzymes called bromelain. Bromelain is so effective at fighting inflammation that it has been used for decades to help people recover from surgery and sports injuries. It works by breaking down the proteins that cause swelling and by thinning the fluids around inflamed tissues, allowing them to drain more easily. If you have ever struggled with sinus congestion or the kind of swelling that makes your shoes feel tight at the end of the day, bromelain is a natural ally. To get the most bromelain, you want to eat fresh pineapple rather than the canned version, as the heat used in canning can destroy these delicate enzymes. The core of the pineapple actually contains the highest concentration of bromelain, so if you have a good blender, including a bit of the tougher core in a smoothie is a great way to maximize the benefit. Pineapple is also loaded with vitamin C, which your body needs to build and repair the collagen in your joints. Think of vitamin C as the mortar between the bricks of your connective tissue. Just be mindful that pineapple is high in natural sugars, so if you are managing your blood sugar, enjoy it in moderation. It is a bright, cheerful fruit that reminds us that healing can be as sweet as it is powerful. Number 10 brings us back to a specifically named biblical spice: cinnamon. In the book of Proverbs, cinnamon is mentioned as a fragrance of beauty, and in Exodus, it was a key ingredient in the holy anointing oil. In the ancient world, it was so valuable it was often gifted to royalty. Today, we know that cinnamon is much more than a flavoring for apple pie. It is a metabolic powerhouse. The active compound, cinnamaldehyde, has been shown in studies to reduce the production of inflammatory markers in the blood. But perhaps its most important role for us today is its ability to help regulate blood sugar. When our blood sugar levels are constantly spiking and crashing, it creates a massive amount of inflammation in our arteries. Cinnamon helps by making our cells more sensitive to insulin, allowing the sugar to move out of the bloodstream and into the cells where it can be used for energy. It is like a key that helps the doors of your cells open more easily. I love the smell of cinnamon. It reminds me of my grandmother's kitchen and a sense of peace. When choosing cinnamon, look for Ceylon or true cinnamon if you plan to use it every day. The more common cassia, cinnamon contains a compound called coumarin, which can be hard on the liver in large amounts. A half teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon in your morning coffee or over your yogurt is a simple, fragrant act of stewardship for your body. For our 11th food, we look at kefir and yogurt. Fermented dairy has a very long history in the Bible. When Abraham greeted his visitors in Genesis, he offered them curds and milk, which were likely fermented products. In a hot climate without refrigeration, fermentation was the only way to preserve dairy, and it turned out to be a stroke of divine genius for health. These foods are packed with probiotics, living, beneficial bacteria that colonize your gut. As I mentioned earlier, the gut is the home of the immune system. When your gut microbiome is out of balance, your immune system becomes leaky and overactive, sending inflammatory signals throughout your entire body. By eating kefir or plain, unsweetened yogurt, you are essentially replanting a beautiful garden in your digestive tract. A healthy gut garden produces short-chain fatty acids that travel through your blood and tell your joints and your brain to calm down. I often recommend kefir over yogurt because it usually contains a much wider variety of bacterial strains. If you are sensitive to dairy, you might find that you can tolerate kefir because the fermentation process breaks down much of the lactose. It is a cooling, refreshing way to start the day. Just be sure to avoid the flavored versions that are loaded with added sugar, as sugar is one of the primary fuels for inflammation. A little bit of fresh fruit or a drizzle of honey is all you need to make it delicious. Number 12 on our list is the cherry. While not named specifically, cherries belong to the family of stone fruits that have flourished in the Mediterranean climate for centuries. They are a symbol of the sweetness of the harvest. What makes cherries, especially tart cherries, so remarkable is their concentration of anthocyanins. These are the same pigments that give blueberries and blackberries their color, but they are particularly potent in cherries. Anthocyanins have been shown to work in a way that is very similar to common pain relievers, blocking the enzymes that cause inflammation and pain. There is specific high-quality research showing that tart cherry juice can significantly reduce the frequency and severity of gout attacks, which are caused by an inflammatory buildup of uric acid. It also helps with muscle recovery and joint stiffness. Another wonderful benefit of cherries is that they are a natural source of melatonin, the hormone that helps you sleep. We often forget that sleep is when the body does its deepest repair work. If you aren't sleeping well, your inflammation levels will naturally rise. I have found that a small glass of unsweetened tart cherry juice in the evening is a lovely ritual that helps both my joints and my rest. It is a beautiful example of how God provides one food to solve multiple problems at once. As we reach number 13, we find green tea. While its origins are in the East, the practice of steeping herbs and leaves in water for healing is as old as humanity itself. Green tea is unique because of a compound called EGCG. This is a catechin, a very specific type of antioxidant that has been shown to protect against the breakdown of cartilage in the joints. For those of us concerned about arthritis, this is a very big deal. EGCG helps to neutralize the enzymes that eat away at the cushioning in our knees and hips. Beyond the joints, green tea is a friend to the heart and the brain. It helps to keep the lining of the blood vessels smooth and flexible, preventing the inflammation that leads to plaque buildup. It does contain a small amount of caffeine, but it also contains an amino acid called L-theanine, which has a calming effect. This combination provides a gentle, focused energy rather than the jittery spike you might get from coffee. I enjoy a cup of green tea in the mid-afternoon. It feels like a moment of quiet reflection. To get the most benefit, let your tea steep for about 3 to 5 minutes, and try adding a squeeze of lemon. The vitamin C in the lemon actually helps your body absorb more of the antioxidants in the tea. It is a simple ancient habit that pays dividends for your long-term health. Finally, we have reached number 14, our special treat, dark chocolate. Yes, you heard that correctly. While the chocolate bars we see in the checkout line are often full of sugar and milk, the pure cacao bean is one of the most powerful anti-inflammatory foods on the planet. Cacao is loaded with flavonols, which are plant compounds that improve blood flow and lower blood pressure. The key is the percentage. You want to look for dark chocolate that is at least 70% cacao or higher. The more bitter the chocolate, the more medicine it contains. Studies have shown that people who eat a small amount of high-quality dark chocolate regularly have lower levels of inflammation in their cardiovascular system. It also helps to improve mood and cognitive function by increasing blood flow to the brain. Think of it as a delicious way to keep your internal plumbing clear and your mind sharp. I like to have 1 or 2 small squares of very dark chocolate after dinner. It satisfies the craving for something sweet while providing a final dose of antioxidants for the day. It is a reminder that God's design for our health is not about deprivation, but about choosing the right kinds of abundance. Just remember, a little goes a long way. 1 or 2 squares is a health food. The whole bar is a sugar spike. Think of all we have covered today, from the deep red beets that widen our vessels to the golden turmeric that switches off the fire of pain. We have seen the fatty fish that lubricates our joints and the sweet potatoes that shield our cells. We remembered the walnuts for our brains and the pumpkin seeds for our nerves. We explored the immune training power of mushrooms and the enzyme-rich pineapple. We breathed in the fragrant cinnamon for our blood sugar and tasted the cooling kefir for our gut. We found relief in the tart cherries, protection in the green tea, and a bit of joy in the dark chocolate. It is a rhythmic list of provision, a parallel to the way the scriptures describe a land flowing with milk and honey, a land of vines and fig trees and pomegranates. True healing is rarely found in a single dramatic event. It is found in the slow, daily choice to nourish the body with the things that were intended for it. It is about returning to a way of eating that honors the complexity and the beauty of God's creation. When we choose these foods, we aren't just following a diet. We are participating in a tradition of wellness that spans thousands of years. We are acknowledging that our bodies are a gift and that we have a responsibility to care for them so that we can continue to serve our families, our communities, and our Creator with energy and joy. Ancient wisdom has returned to us through modern science, confirming what our ancestors knew instinctively. The earth is full of God's medicine. I want to encourage you today to pick just one or two of these foods to start with. You don't have to change everything overnight. Perhaps you can add a handful of walnuts to your breakfast tomorrow, or try a cup of green tea in the afternoon. Small steps, taken with consistency and faith, lead to a very different destination over time. If you found this helpful, I would love for you to leave a comment below and let me know which of these foods you are going to try first. Please share this with a friend who might be struggling with stiffness or fatigue, and subscribe to our channel so we can continue this journey together. May the Lord